Welcome to Bedtime Stories of Calm and Grace. You are safe here. Let your body settle. Let your breath slow. Tonight's story is The Night Gardener of Lavender Hill. Just listen. Just rest. Let yourself drift. Our story begins now. Chapter 1. When the sun goes down, there is a hill at the edge of town where the lavender grows. Wild. It has been growing there for as long as anyone can remember, rolling down the slopes in waves of purple and gray, filling the evening air with a scent so sweet and calming that people say you can smell it from 3 streets away. Most people visit this hill during the day, when the sun is high and the bees are busy and the lavender glows bright against the blue sky. But there is someone who comes only at night. Her name is Marguerite, though everyone in town simply calls her Maggie. She is the night gardener. Maggie has tended this garden for more than 40 years. She started when she was young, when her grandmother first brought her here and showed her how to plant seeds and pull up weeds and speak gently to growing things. Back then, she came during the day like everyone else. She learned the ways of sunshine and soil, of water and waiting. But somewhere along the way, things changed. Maggie discovered that she preferred the quiet hours, the hours after sunset, when the rest of the world slowed down and the garden revealed its secret self, the hours when the flowers released their deepest fragrances and the night creatures came out to sing. Now she comes only when the stars are out. Now she gardens by moonlight. Tonight is a warm evening in late summer, the kind of evening when the air holds the heat of the day like a soft blanket, releasing it slowly as the hours pass. The kind of evening when you can sit outside without a sweater and feel perfectly comfortable. Maggie makes her way up the winding path to the top of Lavender Hill. She carries a canvas bag over one shoulder, worn soft from years of use. Inside the bag are her tools: a small hand trowel, a pair of pruning shears, a coil of garden twine, and a notebook where she records her observations. There is also a thermos of mint tea, still warm. She always brings tea. The path is familiar to her feet. She could walk it with her eyes closed, and some nights she does exactly that. She knows every stone, every root, every place where the ground dips slightly, and you need to watch your step. She knows where the rose bushes grow close to the path, their thorns waiting to catch on clothing. She knows where the stone bench sits, the one donated by a family whose daughter was married in this garden 50 years ago. Tonight her eyes are open. She looks up at the sky as she walks, counting the stars that have appeared so far. The first ones always show themselves in the east, where the sky darkens earliest. They emerge shyly, one at a time, like children peeking around a doorway. More will come soon. By midnight, the sky will be thick with them. Chapter 2. The Secret Garden. The community garden at the top of Lavender Hill is not like other gardens. It was designed many years ago to bloom at night. There are moonflowers that open only after dusk, their white petals unfurling like tiny satellites turning toward the sky. There are night blooming jasmine bushes, their fragrance so powerful that it can make you dizzy if you stand too close. There are evening primroses in shades of pale yellow and soft pink, their faces following the moon the way sunflowers follow the sun. And of course, there is the lavender, row after row of it, planted in careful patterns that form a spiral when viewed from above. The spiral leads inward toward the center of the garden, where a small gazebo stands surrounded by the tallest lavender plants of all. This is where Maggie begins her work each night. This is the heart of the garden. She sets down her bag and takes a deep breath. The lavender scent fills her lungs, and she feels her shoulders drop, her jaw unclench, her whole body soften. This is why she comes, not just to tend the plants, but to let the plants tend her, to breathe in their medicine, to let their calm become her calm. She stands still for a long moment, just breathing, in and out, in and out. The world is quiet here. The sounds of the town are muffled by the hill and the hedges that surround the garden. All she can hear is the gentle chirping of crickets, the occasional hoot of an owl in the oak tree at the edge of the property, and the soft rustle of leaves in the warm breeze. Maggie opens her eyes and looks around. Even though she has seen this garden thousands of times, it still fills her with wonder. The way the moonlight catches the silver undersides of the lavender leaves, the way the white flowers seem to glow in the darkness, the way everything looks slightly unreal, like a garden in a dream. She has thought about this often over the years. Why does the garden feel so magical at night? Is it simply the light, or the quiet, or the absence of other people? Or is it something more? Something about the way the world changes when the sun goes down. She has never found a definite answer, but she thinks sometimes that the night reveals the true nature of things. During the day, everything is loud and bright and demanding attention. At night, the world strips down to its essence. Only what matters remains. Chapter 3. The work of tending Maggie begins her rounds. She moves slowly through the garden, stopping at each section to check on the plants. She looks for signs of stress, of disease, of damage from insects or animals. She looks for new growth and old growth, for flowers that have opened and flowers that have faded. She carries no flashlight. Her eyes have long ago adjusted to working in the dark. She can see well enough by starlight and moonlight. And besides, she knows these plants so intimately that she could tend them by touch alone. The first section she visits is the herb garden. Here there are rows of sage and thyme, rosemary, and oregano. There is a patch of lemon balm that has spread beyond its borders, as lemon balm always does. There is a clump of chamomile with its tiny white flowers, like hundreds of little daisies, nodding in the breeze. Maggie kneels down and runs her fingers through the chamomile. She picks a few flowers, just a handful, and drops them into her bag. Later, she will dry them and add them to her tea. There is nothing better for sleep than chamomile picked fresh from the garden. She moves on to the rose section. These are not ordinary roses. They are antique varieties, passed down through generations, with names like Souvenir de la Malmaison and Madame Alfred. Carrière. They bloom in shades of cream and blush and deep pink, and their fragrance is intoxicating. One bush needs pruning. Maggie can see a dead branch hanging at an odd angle, probably damaged in last week's windstorm. She takes out her shears and makes a clean cut, angling the blade so that water will run off and not collect on the wound. The branch falls to the ground. She picks it up and adds it to a small pile near the compost bin. Nothing is wasted in this garden. Even the dead branches will break down and become soil again, feeding the plants that remain. Chapter 4. The watering. The most important task of the night is the watering. Maggie makes her way to the old stone pump at the western edge of the garden. This pump has been here since the garden was first planted, and it still works as well as it did 100 years ago. You simply press down on the handle, and clear cold water flows up from the deep well below. She fills her watering can, a large copper one with a fine rose attachment that breaks the water into a gentle shower. Then she begins her slow walk through the garden, giving each plant exactly what it needs. The lavender needs very little. Lavender is a desert plant at heart. It prefers dry conditions and well-drained soil. Too much water will rot its roots and kill it faster than neglect ever could. So Maggie only waters the young plants, the ones planted this spring that have not yet developed deep root systems. She gives each one a small drink, just enough to keep it going, just enough to remind it that it is not alone. The roses are different. Roses are thirsty plants. They want deep, regular watering, especially in the heat of summer. Maggie circles each bush slowly, letting the water soak into the ground, letting it reach all the way down to the roots. She talks to the roses as she waters them, not in words exactly, more in feelings. She sends them her appreciation, her gratitude for their beauty, her respect for their resilience. She has been talking to plants this way for as long as she can remember, and she is certain they hear her. The vegetable garden is next. Here there are tomatoes hanging heavy on their vines, their skins just beginning to blush red. There are beans climbing up bamboo poles, their tendrils reaching for the sky. There are squash plants sprawling across the ground, their broad leaves hiding the yellow and green fruits beneath. These plants need more water than any others. Maggie refills her can 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. She moves slowly, carefully, making sure every plant gets its share. The water disappears into the soil almost as fast as she pours it, soaking down to where the roots can drink it up. Chapter 5. The wisdom of patience. Maggie has learned many things in her years of gardening. She has learned that seeds need darkness before they can grow toward light. She has learned that pruning, though it looks destructive, makes plants stronger in the end. She has learned that the best fertilizer is patience, and the best tool is attention. But the most important thing she has learned is this: you cannot rush a garden. Every plant has its own rhythm. Some bloom in spring, some in summer, some in fall. Some take years to produce their first flower. Some live for only one season and then die, leaving seeds behind for next year. Some grow inches in a single night. Some grow so slowly you can barely see the change from month to month. A gardener cannot make a plant grow faster than it wants to grow. A gardener can only create the conditions for growth and then wait. Maggie thinks about this as she makes her way back to the gazebo. She has been waiting a long time for certain things in her own life. She has waited for worries to fade. She has waited for understanding to come. She has waited for peace to settle into her bones, the way it settles into the soil after rain. And slowly, over the years, it has. Not all at once, not in dramatic revelations, but in small moments, accumulating like drops of water in a bowl. One day, she looked up and realized that the bowl was full. She realized that she had become, without quite noticing it, a person at peace with herself. She sits down on the bench inside the gazebo. The lavender rises up around her on all sides, its purple spires reaching toward the stars. She can see the whole garden from here, the rows and paths and beds spread out in the moonlight. She can see the oak tree at the edge, its branches black against the sky. She can see the lights of town in the distance, twinkling like earthbound stars. She pours herself a cup of tea from her thermos. The mint is strong and sweet, exactly the way she likes it. She holds the warm cup in her hands and breathes in the steam. Mint and lavender, lavender and mint. Two scents blend together into something neither could be alone. Chapter 6. Visitors in the dark. The garden is never entirely empty, even at this hour. As Maggie sits quietly, she begins to notice the other creatures who call this place home. A moth flutters past, drawn by the white flowers. Its wings are soft gray, patterned with circles that look like eyes. It lands on a moonflower and uncurls its long tongue, drinking the nectar that the flower has saved for this moment. A beetle crawls across the path, its shell gleaming black in the moonlight. It is heading for the compost pile, where it will spend the night breaking down dead leaves and stems into rich dark soil. A bat swoops low over the lavender, so close that Maggie can feel the wind from its wings. It is hunting moths and mosquitoes, gobbling them up by the dozen. Maggie is grateful for the bats. Without them, the garden would be overrun with pests. An owl calls from the oak tree. It is a long, low sound, more felt than heard. The kind of sound that seems to vibrate in your chest. The kind of sound that has been echoing through nights like this for thousands and thousands of years. Maggie listens. After a moment, another owl answers from somewhere in the distance. They are talking to each other, these night hunters. Perhaps they are marking territory. Perhaps they are calling for a mate. Perhaps they are simply saying, "I am here, I am here, I am here." A rabbit appears at the edge of the garden. It sits very still, its ears turning like satellite dishes, scanning for danger. It has come to nibble on the clover that grows between the vegetable beds. Maggie does not mind. There is plenty of clover for everyone. She stays very still, not wanting to frighten it. The rabbit hops a few steps closer, then a few steps more. It still has not noticed her. She watches as it finds a particularly lush patch of clover and begins to eat, its nose twitching with pleasure. Chapter 7. The stories in the soil. Every garden has a history. This one is older than most. It was planted more than a century ago by a group of women who wanted a beautiful place to walk and think and be together. They were teachers and nurses and shopkeepers, ordinary women with busy lives, and they craved a patch of green, growing town. They bought this hillside with money they pooled from their savings. They hauled in soil and seeds and saplings. They worked evenings and weekends whenever they could steal a few hours from their other responsibilities. They argued about what to plant and where to put the paths. They made mistakes and learned from them. And slowly, year by year, the garden grew. Maggie knows all their names. She has read the old journals that the founding gardeners kept, the ones now stored in the town library's special collection. She has seen the photographs, sepia-toned and fading, showing women in long skirts and wide hats, holding shovels and rakes, smiling at the camera. She thinks about them sometimes when she is working late at night. She wonders what they would think of the garden now. Would they be pleased with how it has grown? Would they recognize the plants they planted so long ago? Would they feel, as she does, that this place is sacred? She likes to imagine that they would. She likes to imagine that they are here somehow, their energy absorbed into the soil, their love still nourishing the roots. Every gardener who has tended this place has left something behind, not just plants and paths, but something less tangible, a kind of care that soaks into the earth, a kind of attention that remains even after the person is gone. Maggie feels it when she digs in the soil. She feels the hands of everyone who came before her, and she knows that she too will leave something behind. When she is gone, when someone else takes over the night gardening, they will feel her here. They will feel her love for the lavender, her respect for the roses, her patience with the slow-growing oaks. They will sense, without knowing why, that this is a place where good work has been done. Chapter 8. The Deepening Night. The hours pass slowly in the garden. Maggie does not check the time. She does not need to. Her body knows the rhythms of the night as surely as it knows its own heartbeat. She can tell by the position of the moon, by the sounds of the insects, by the feeling in the air. It is past midnight now, the deepest part of the night, the hours when most people are asleep, when the world belongs to the creatures of darkness, when time itself seems to stretch and slow. Maggie lies back on the bench and looks up at the stars. From here, surrounded by the lavender, she can see nothing but sky. No houses, no streets, no reminders of the human world. Just a vast expanse of darkness, punctured by a million points of light. She finds the constellations she knows. There is Cassiopeia, the queen, sitting on her throne in the Milky Way. There is Cygnus, the swan, flying south along the river of stars. There is the Big Dipper, pointing the way to the North Star, which has guided travelers for as long as there have been travelers to guide. She thinks about how far away those stars are. The light she is seeing left those distant suns years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. Some of the stars she is looking at may have already burned out. They may no longer exist, but their light is still traveling, still crossing the void, still arriving at this little planet to fall upon the eyes of a gardener lying in a field of lavender. It makes her feel small, but not in a bad way, not in a frightening way, more like a relief, a reminder that her worries, however large they seem, are tiny specks in the vastness of the universe, a reminder that the world will keep turning, the stars will keep shining, the gardens will keep growing long after she is gone. Chapter 9. What the garden teaches. Maggie closes her eyes. The lavender scent wraps around her like a blanket. The cricket song fills her ears like a lullaby. She feels the bench solid beneath her back, the cool night air on her face, the gentle presence of the growing things all around her. She thinks about what the garden has taught her over the years. So many lessons, so much wisdom hidden in the turning of the seasons, the cycle of growth and decay, the quiet persistence of roots reaching down into darkness. The garden has taught her about trust. Every time she plants a seed, she is trusting that something invisible will happen. She is trusting that the seed will know what to do. She is trusting that the soil and the water and the sun will provide what is needed. She cannot control any of it. She can only trust, and the seeds almost always grow. The garden has taught her about letting go. Every autumn, she watches the leaves fall and the plants die back. Every winter, she looks out at the bare earth and wonders if anything will ever grow again. And every spring, without fail, the green returns. The garden lets go of what is no longer needed. It trusts that new life will come. Maggie has learned to do the same. She has learned to let go of old hurts, old grudges, old fears. She has learned that holding on too tightly only causes pain. She has learned that there is wisdom in releasing, in surrendering, in allowing the natural cycle to take its course. The garden has taught her about enough. Every plant takes only what it needs from the soil. No more, no less. The rose does not try to be a sunflower. The lavender does not try to be a rose. Each plant knows what it is, knows what it needs, and grows accordingly. Maggie has learned to do the same. She has learned that she does not need to be everything, do everything, have everything. She has learned that she is enough, exactly as she is. She has learned that a simple life, lived with attention and care, is a rich life indeed. Chapter 10. The Gift of Quiet. The garden has given Maggie one more gift. Perhaps the most precious gift of all. It has given her the ability to be quiet. When she first started gardening at night, all those years ago, her mind was full of noise, thoughts tumbling over each other, worries chasing worries, an endless stream of words and images and fears. She could not stop thinking, could not slow down, could not find any peace. But the garden was patient with her. It did not demand that she quiet down immediately. It simply offered itself, night after night, as a place of stillness. It showed her, by example, how to be calm, how to breathe, how to let the thoughts come and go without grabbing onto them. Slowly, over months and years, she learned. Now, when she sits in the garden at night, her mind is like a clear pool. Thoughts still arise. They ripple across the surface like leaves falling on water. But they do not disturb the depths. They do not stir up mud. They simply appear, float for a moment, and then drift away. This is the gift of quiet, not the absence of thought, but the ability to let thought be, to observe it without getting caught up in it, to watch the mind without becoming the mind's servant. Maggie breathes deeply, in and out, in and out. Each breath draws in the lavender scent, the cool night air, the silence of the stars. Each breath releases whatever tension remains, whatever tightness has accumulated, whatever is no longer needed. She is not trying to achieve anything. She is not trying to feel a certain way. She is simply here, in this moment, in this garden, under these stars. That is enough. Chapter 11. The return of dawn time passes differently in the garden. What feels like minutes might be hours. What feels like hours might be only moments. Maggie has stopped trying to keep track. She has surrendered to the garden's time, which is not measured by clocks, but by the slow turning of the earth. She notices, after a while, that the darkness is beginning to change. It is subtle at first, a slight lightening in the east, a fading of the stars near the horizon, a change in the quality of the air, from the deep stillness of midnight to the gentle stirring of pre-dawn. The birds notice too. First one, then another, then a dozen more. They are waking in the trees, fluffing their feathers, stretching their wings. Soon, they will begin to sing, announcing the return of the sun. But not yet. For now, there is still this in-between time. This threshold between night and day. This magical hour when the world holds its breath and anything seems possible. Maggie sits up slowly. Her body is stiff from lying on the bench, but it is a good stiffness, the kind that comes from deep rest, from true relaxation. She stretches her arms above her head, rolls her neck from side to side, feels her muscles waking up. She gathers her things. The watering can goes back on its hook near the pump. The thermos goes into her bag, along with the pruning shears and the trowel and the coil of twine. The handful of chamomile flowers is still there, slightly wilted now, ready to be dried for tea. She takes one last look around the garden. The lavender is beginning to glow in the early light. The white flowers are closing, their petals folding inward like hands in prayer. The moon is setting in the west, pale and thin, preparing to rest. Another night has passed. Another night of tending, of watering, of watching and waiting. Another night of peace. Chapter 12. The walk home. Maggie makes her way down the winding path. The stones are cool beneath her feet, still damp with dew. The air smells different now, less of lavender and more of morning. That fresh, clean scent that comes just before sunrise. She walks slowly, savoring every step. There is no hurry. There has never been any hurry. The world will wait for her, as it always does. The day will begin when it is ready, and she will begin with it. She passes the rose bushes, their blooms nodding in the gentle breeze. She passes the herb garden, where the sage and thyme are releasing their morning scent. She passes the stone bench, the one donated by the family whose daughter was married here. She runs her hand along its smooth surface, cool and solid, a reminder that some things endure. At the bottom of the hill, she pauses and looks back. The garden is beautiful in the growing light. The colors are returning, the purples and greens and whites that were hidden in darkness. The shapes are emerging, the curves and lines that define this place she loves. She whispers a thank you, not to anyone in particular, just to the garden, to the night, to whatever forces have allowed her to spend these hours in such peace. Then she turns and continues on her way. The town is beginning to wake. She can see lights coming on in windows, can hear the distant sound of a car starting, can smell coffee brewing. Somewhere nearby, the world of daylight and busyness is returning, with all its demands and distractions. But Maggie carries the garden with her. She carries its quiet in her heart. She carries its patience in her bones. She carries its trust in her blood, flowing through her veins like sap through the stem of a flower. The garden is not just a place. It is a way of being, and she can access it whenever she needs to, no matter where she is. Chapter 13. Home again. Maggie arrives at her small house just as the sun breaks the horizon. It is a modest house, painted white with green shutters. It has a front porch with 2 rocking chairs and a window box full of geraniums. It is nothing fancy, but it is hers, and she loves it. She climbs the porch steps and opens the door. Inside, everything is quiet and still. The house has been waiting for her, holding space for her return. The furniture sits in its familiar arrangement. The pictures hang on the walls. The books line the shelves. She sets down her bag and takes off her shoes. The floor is cool beneath her bare feet. She walks through the house slowly, touching things as she passes. The back of a chair, the edge of a table, the soft petals of the flowers in the vase on the windowsill. She makes her way to the kitchen. Here she puts the kettle on and prepares a simple breakfast. Toast with butter and honey, a sliced apple, a pot of tea made with the chamomile flowers she picked tonight and dried ones from last week. She carries everything to the small table by the window. Outside, the sun is rising higher, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The birds are singing loudly now, a full chorus announcing the new day. Neighbors are beginning to stir, stepping out to retrieve newspapers, walking dogs, starting their morning routines. Maggie watches it all with quiet contentment. Chapter 14. The Threshold of Sleep. After breakfast, Maggie makes her way to the bedroom. The curtains are thick and dark, meant to block out the daylight. She draws them closed, and the room falls into a soft gray dimness. It is not dark like night, but it is dark enough. She changes into soft clothes, a worn cotton nightgown that has been washed so many times it feels like silk. Old socks, thick and warm, to keep her feet comfortable. She lets her hair down from its braid and brushes it slowly, counting the strokes the way her grandmother taught her. She climbs into bed. The sheets are cool and smooth, the pillows soft and welcoming. She arranges herself in her favorite position, on her side, with one arm tucked under the pillow, the way she has slept since she was a child. She closes her eyes. Behind her eyelids, she sees the garden. She sees the lavender waving in the night breeze. She sees the moonflowers opening their white petals. She sees the stars scattered across the sky like seeds across dark soil. Her body is tired in the best possible way. It is the tiredness that comes from good work, from physical movement, from hours spent in the fresh air. Every muscle knows that it has been used well. Every bone is ready to rest. The endless stream of thoughts has slowed to a trickle, then to isolated drops, then to stillness. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to worry about, nothing to plan or prepare. There is only this moment, this bed, this gentle slide toward sleep. She thinks drowsily of the garden. She thinks of the seeds sleeping in the soil, waiting for their time to grow. She thinks of the roots reaching down into darkness, finding nourishment in the earth. She thinks of the patient, persistent way that plants keep growing, day after day, night after night, without ever hurrying or forcing. She is like those plants. She is growing at her own pace, in her own way. She is sending down roots into the good soil of her life. She is reaching toward the light that only she can see. Sleep is coming now. She can feel it at the edges of her awareness, soft and warm and welcoming. It is not something she has to chase or capture. It simply arrives, like dawn, like the first flower of spring, like everything that comes in its own time. Her breathing slows, her body grows heavier, her thoughts dissolve into dreams. Chapter 15. The Garden Dreams. Maggie walks through a garden that stretches forever. The paths wind on and on, past flowers she has never seen before, under trees whose branches touch the sky. The air is filled with scents she cannot name, each one more beautiful than the last. She walks without hurrying. There is no destination, no goal, nothing to achieve. There is only the walking, the breathing, the simple pleasure of being in a place of such peace. She passes a pond where water lilies float on still water. She passes a grove where fireflies dance in the darkness. She passes a meadow where the grass is soft as velvet and the sky is filled with stars. And everywhere she goes, she feels at home. The dream shifts and changes, as dreams do. Now she is back in her own garden on Lavender Hill. But it is not quite the same. The colors are brighter, the scents are stronger. Everything is more itself than it is in waking life. Her grandmother is there. She is young again, the way Maggie remembers her from childhood. She is wearing a blue dress and a wide-brimmed hat, and she is smiling. They do not speak. There is no need for words. They simply walk together through the lavender, side by side, grandmother and granddaughter, connected across time and space by the love they share. The dream fades. Maggie sinks deeper into sleep, past the place of dreams, into the quiet darkness where the body repairs itself and the mind rests completely. She is held. She is safe. She is at peace. And so the night gardener sleeps. She sleeps while the sun crosses the sky above her house. She sleeps while the town goes about its busy day. She sleeps while the garden on the hill stands quiet and still, waiting for evening, waiting for her return. The lavender sways in the afternoon breeze. The bees visit the flowers, collecting nectar for their hives. The birds hop through the herb garden, looking for insects. The vegetables soak up the sunshine, growing larger and riper with every passing hour. Everything is as it should be. Everything is in its place. Tonight, when the sun goes down, Maggie will wake. She will make herself a cup of tea and a simple dinner. She will gather her tools into her canvas bag. She will walk up the winding path to the top of the hill, and she will begin again. The same work, the same walks, the same quiet attention, the same love poured into the soil, the same patience offered to the growing things. It is not a glamorous life. It is not a life that will make headlines or win awards. But it is a good life. A life of meaning and purpose. A life of connection to the earth and the seasons and the stars. A life of peace. And now, as you lie in your own bed, in your own quiet room, perhaps you can carry some of that peace with you. Perhaps you can imagine the lavender. Perhaps you can smell it faintly as you breathe in. Perhaps you can feel the cool night air on your skin. Perhaps you can hear the crickets singing their endless song. You do not need a garden to find peace. You do not need to go anywhere at all. Peace is here, in this moment, in this breath. It has been here all along. So let your eyes grow heavy. Let your body sink into the mattress. Let your thoughts drift away like clouds across the moon. You are safe. You are held. You are allowed to rest. The garden will be there when you wake. The world will be there when you wake. For now there is only sleep. Sweet, deep, healing sleep. Rest now. Rest well.